Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the channel and podcast that unites the worldwide fan base of Celtic. From Port Patrick to Port Elizabeth, from Dunoon to Dunedin. Wherever you're watching from, you're part of A Celtic World. And we're welcoming back some old faces here. I mean that as in we're old chums, not that the faces are aged. David, welcome back.
So glad to be back from injury and for the run into the end of the season. Coming for the glory, of course.
Yeah, David, you're our James Forrest.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You've been away for a while, David. Previously, you were like an ever-present. Then you picked up an injury in terms of work commitment.
Work commitments, yeah. But I've been through the therapy. I'm feeling good. Doctors have given me the all clear, so I'm good. Just need to get picked. Cement my place.
Yeah. Well, you know,
from the shadows, James McCarthy emerges.
And another semi-regular is Michael in Italy. Mickey. Ciao, Mickey.
Buongiorno tutti. Buongiorno from Italy. Nice to be back.
No, you're not in your usual place. Previously, I think you were in like the room above the pub in downtown Rome, and now you're in the countryside. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. I'm in the countryside in Umbria. I got Elon Musk's Starlink installed here, so hopefully the internet will be a bit more stable than it used to be.
Very good. Well, it's good to see these two players coming in from the cold a little bit. And, you know, when you're blighted by injury, you've got to rely on your core players to run themselves into the ground. And one who's been doing just that has been Kaiser of late. And here he is again. How's it going?
Yo, legends. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Live from Ibrox in the shadow of Mordor. But the sun is out today. Happy days. Sun's out, guns out. I'll need to be getting my top off if the temperature surges. Maybe not live, you know what I mean? Maybe not live.
Well, stay tuned, guys, to see if that happens. Now, I haven't created a little menu for today because we're basically going to be talking about the semi-finals. And if you've got any Celtic social medias to share, which we haven't prepared, fire them over to me in some way or another during the show, and I'll see if I can get them up. So let's see who else is with us. Who do we have? A lot of the usual faces. Who's the snitch? Christophe George, who may be putting in an appearance on the show before the season is out, as we try and mix it up and get a few more accents in. I don't know who this reprobate is.
Oh,
fingering in the comments there.
Clean shaven today.
420 somewhere.
Yo, Monty.
Monty starts off with this rather sober message. 5 years ago today, we lost our iconic leader, captain and inspiration. Billy McNeil epitomised everything that is needed to succeed at Celtic: pride, passion, heart, and a will to win. Thank you for that, Monty.
Celtic's greatest ever captain.
So before we get into the game, I want to talk a little bit about the Watchalong. Now, Kaiser, you saw some of the Watchalong, and I was speaking to Brian about it earlier. Brian reckons it was comedy gold. He was laughing his head off.
Yeah, I watched along for most of the Watchalong. I got the game on at the start, and then I remembered the Watchalong was on. Even though I wasn't on it, I do come in and tune in, stay in the comments and stuff. Even when I'm not here, I like to put in a performance, help the team, you know, that dedicated stuff. And I jumped in for the watch-along and I seen Daniel was absolutely on fire. And also, I'm sitting here in Glasgow watching BBC iPlayer live, basically in Glasgow, and Daniel's stream was like 60 seconds, a full minute ahead of mine. So seeing his face with all the penalties and, oh my God, it was a battle of the nerves.
Well, that's exactly it. My stream was a disaster. Initially, Dano and I started off, we're both watching Celtic TV, but Celtic TV is 2 minutes behind everybody else. Like all the people in the comments were ahead of us. So then we switched to watching an alternative. And, well, we started off watching Celtic TV and we were behind and we were asking the people in the comments not to give us any spoilers. But no sooner did I say that than Brian starts reacting to a second Aberdeen goal. And we're like, oh no, there's another goal. Oh, gee, they're 2-0 down. It's a disaster. And then we're sitting watching it, just dreading the second goal showing up, which of course didn't happen. As the minutes ticked by, it became aware to us that Brian was on the wind up. But so we switched to another one, and I missed loads of moments because it was buffering the whole time. I'm about to play you a little video here, show you a little snapshot of it. When I got the penalties, I had to mute my system volume so I couldn't hear Dano because he's like 3 seconds ahead of me. And he's drinking whiskies and vaping and being all Dano, American. And then I have to cover up the comments like with the document so I can't see what people are saying. And then I'm looking at my second screen and trying not to see what Dano's reactions.
When you were sitting like that, Gav, with your hand over your face,
well,
I
I'm
thought you were
about to play
like crying with laughter, bro. I just thought you'd lost it, like he's lost the plot.
No.
Just saluting the gods.
This is Hart taking the penalty. This is what it looked like for us watching it. My stream started buffering and then went black just as he was about to take it.
Jesus.
Meanwhile, Dano's reacting and I'm trying not to look at anyone. I'm going to add this.
Hart's going to take the penalty? What is this?
What? You got to be kidding me.
Brendan Rodgers, if you pull this off, Brendan Rodgers, you are a goddamn madman.
Dano with the longest fake draw in history.
Jesus. Oh, Jesus, it's gone off. Must have missed. Oh, he missed.
He fucking put it off the bar, man. I can't fucking believe that. Why in the hell?
Oh, my screen's going black.
What in the fuck is that, man?
So that's the high quality entertainment that was provided.
I'm telling you now, we got to do some late night Kaiser, Dano, Jameson streams, a couple of bottles, and we'll see what Dano gets up to. He went up breakdancing, sweaty it. He's mental. Don't know what's happened to Mickey. My camera popped off for a wee while as well.
Yeah, something went funny there.
We've got two Michaels. Oh.
Right.
One left.
So, yeah, it was a pretty stressful watch, I think it's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. It was stressful at the best of times without all that buffering.
Yeah, brutal. All right, so I guess we need to talk about the game. We got the niceties out of the way. So, David, why don't you get us underway with your reaction to the team news?
So I was all right with the team. I was actually on a bus. My stress was added to because I was coming back on a bus from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur with the intermittent internet to see the game. So whenever there was incidents happening, I had to wait to find out as well. But I seen the lineup. I didn't think I had any particular concerns. I know that we'll maybe probably talk about Scales versus Navratsky. Do you want to play your song, Gav? And we can debate that later. But I had no concerns. This was okay for me. And then the bench looked strong enough. So going in, this seemed sensible. Didn't have any issues. No omissions, no concerns.
Yeah. Scales started, Kaiser, and there was I know you're or have been a supporter of Scales. You were happy enough to see him in the starting lineup?
Yeah, it's just really looking at the alternatives, bringing, get your tune ready, Gav, Narodsky in at that stage. And I just thought it would have been a bit harsh on him, bringing Rocky in at that point and dropping him in it. I know lots of people have been calling for it. And you got to let Scales make the mistakes before he gets dropped out of the team. I think, well, certainly seen some of that, you know what I mean? But we'll talk about that as it comes up.
And what else was there to be said? Well, McGregor playing, and also Brendan persisting with Yang is a decision that raised a few eyebrows, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard for him to start Forrest ahead of him at this stage, so possibly Palma, maybe. I was a bit disappointed with Yang being in the starting lineup, to be honest with you. But other than that, there was no real surprises at all, I didn't think.
An argument for Wata instead of Yang, play with McGregor possibly. But I never made that argument when I saw the team, so...
Mm-hmm.
Thought we would lead off with Awata in the midfield and then bring Cal in. Didn't know if Cal would have been like fully fit and at the races, but there's only one way to get match fit, and that's play games. So certainly need them for the remainder of the season. So it made sense to play them.
So a lot of things happened in the game. I've got stills to help us discuss it, but just the goals and I suppose a couple of incidents, not that many. The first half, there's only really two things that happened of note. They scored super quick. I wasn't even paying attention, really. In fact, as we go through this game, know that I barely watched it. I don't feel like I really watched it. I missed loads of important moments. And even though today I, created these stills, I just went for the key moments. So I'm looking for people to sort of fill in the blanks a bit. I feel like I was out for a big night with Dano and woken up the next day and I'm like, what exactly happened? Did I do anything embarrassing? So
the fear.
So this was the first goal. Happened very quickly. They just cut through us like a hot knife through butter. Did they not, David? And who was to blame for this? I mean, how did this happen so easily?
So I felt the three there were flat-footed. Majowski's a player, and we can go back and see whether or not we should have bought him when we had the chance. I think he's a natural-born striker. I think he would bring a lot to our team. So the question is whether or not his predatory abilities would have found a way anyway. But for me, the one movement which you can't see in that one was actually when Scales had realised he'd been caught. If you can see that clip at that point, I watched it again today. He runs away from where the ball's going, and he starts running towards the corner. And I was like, "Where are you going? Are you trying? What kind of move is it that you're trying to achieve here?" So Scales in that one for me. Whether or not CCV was caught there, or whether or not we just had it was a brilliant pass and it was a very well taken goal. But I would say the defense just looked fragile at that point, flat-footed and slow, and you could say that of a number of instances where players, and we'll go through the game, players were left without anybody marking them. So I'm going to put it on the defense this one, but well taken goal.
Yeah, I mean, Maestro says CCV was caught there, and that was my first reaction. Is he let him get past him and away from him far too easily, regardless of how it happened. That he ran in front of CCV and away from Scales. CCV kind of expected him to do more there. Do you not, Kaiser?
I think for me, if you bring him still back up again, Gav, right, as you see in it, like Anthony Scales is in absolutely no man's land. You know what I mean? What is he doing there? And I do understand that Celtic rely heavily on CCV. It's more of a sort of sweeper than it is playing centre back. He drops deeper, and CCV is a fast guy. I know he doesn't look very quick, but he's got pace. Aberdeen clearly came with a game plan. They had looked at this and looked at how to isolate individual players and their individual weaknesses. Majowski running off the shoulder of CCV and staying onside was one way. Absolutely beautifully executed. A world-class pass. If that was Matt O'Reilly playing that ball in, we would have been raving about it non-stop. Absolutely beautiful pass threaded through. Majowski takes it well and finishes really well. Not only is he beating a top-class defender there with his movement and pace, he's also beaten one of our best performers this season in Joe Hart. You need to give credit where credit's due. Aberdeen clearly had a game plan, and when Majowski went off injured, they switched to their second game plan. So they clearly had more than one. They had more than a plan A. They had plan B and plan C as well. That's how we found ourselves so deep in the game and in penalties. A place none of us wanted to go, might I add. given our penalty record this season.
Sure. Well, the only other thing then in the second half was our comeback goal, Michael. Kyogo won the ball fairly, and then the shot was
Yeah.
blocked, and it's spewed out to Kuhn.
Yeah, again, it's Kyogo putting pressure on the on the keeper like he always does. Gets a good break of the ball, and it's an easy finish for Kuhn in the end, for sure. But it's all about Kyogo's movement, getting high up and getting the pressure going. I mean, if we had started Ida, would he have been in that position at that time? Possibly not. So I think it was a typical Kyogo moment, if you know what I mean.
I think
Pitch was great, didn't it?
Yeah, pitch was fantastic. I think it's really funny to see a player of Miovski's age and level, right? I think he's like 24 years old, and we're debating over whether we should have signed him or whether we should sign him. He's equivalent to Kyogo's movement for unspringing and unhinging a defence. And look at the way that Aberdeen utilise him off the shoulder of a defender. It's just a way that we do not utilise Kyogo. Also, I seen Mahesh comment there and say the ball was breaking down in midfield. And I do remember seeing Callum McGregor screaming and shouting. He wanted the defence to push higher up, but CCV had says to him, basically, I've just been toasted in a one-on-one, played the ball through. So simply, I'm not going to push forward and squeeze the space. Midfield's going to need to drop back. And I think that's why we've seen Callum removed and Iwata came on, because usually that's a decision Cal would know what to make instantly. But he was looking for CCV in the defence to push up and help midfield push forward, rather than him drop slightly deeper and help the defence.
Problem with Aberdeen's first goal was Aberdeen had numbers on the ball in midfield when they got the turnover. Happened too often in the game. Happened over and over again. That they just looked to have loads of players and loads of space. And they moved the ball really quickly. How come they didn't finish in the top six with the way they played? It's amazing.
Clearly,
Kyogo's goal, though, I mean, clearly we got a goal because of his determination and movement to win that ball, and he was running in at pace, and maybe that's in determination. But should he have taken that shot? It bounced. Luckily, do you not think there was a little bit there of me saying, well, I kind of criticize him because he did so well with determination to get that ball. That was nowhere, right? And he created that space, took the ball really well, and then found himself in position for a chip or something, or a layoff. And we got the layoff by him just, bouncing it off a defender. I wonder if it's whether or not his complete sharpness and confidence yet has come back, although we get to see more of him now. Maybe Brendan's trusting him a wee bit more. But I think if
Kyogo wins that ball there, David, and doesn't take the shot, then you would be looking at your striker and going, he's severely lacking in confidence and he's not taking. And if he lays that ball off and we don't capitalise on it, then you're like, you want your number one man hitting those shots, don't you? So there's a bit of 50-50 to it. We were lucky the deflection broke fairly. Well, it broke nicely for us, straight to Kuhn, and he slotted it home, cool as a cucumber.
Yep.
Lucky he didn't rely on power, because it's one thing I don't think he has in his legs.
I also think, to Mickey's point about Ida, would he have, what would he have done? I think the difference with Ida is he actually creates a lot more space. He pulls players with him. So do you remember like Hart and Sutton and the space that they could make by holding the players off, bringing the ball with them, and just sheer strength and capability. Whereas Kyogo, he tends to find space from nowhere, like just turning on defenders, finding minute spaces to get through that you wouldn't normally see. So I think they do two very different things. But I thought, Ida coming on obviously.
For me, David, right, as a player who played in Scotland, not professionally, right, ladies and gentlemen, just before anybody jumps in that and think, guys, I had a contract, maybe in my own mind or on FIFA or something, Pro Evo Soccer. But when I played with my friends, I was the kind of player that, I played up front, so I was more like Mark Viduka, right? I utilised strength and skill, but the worst players to play against were smaller, faster players, because I couldn't utilise my assets on them. I couldn't go and lean on them because every time I leaned on them, they fell over and they got a free kick. Just if it was if refereeing was a bit more policed correctly in Scotland and operated correctly, then I think Kyogo's abilities would ring through. I think John Hart and Chris Sutton were great examples because they came up here playing against big hammer throwers, but they were physical machines with a bit of talent. You know what I mean? They had magic in their boots, both of them. You know what I mean? And that physical dig, they feared no one. Celtic feared no one at that stage. Kyogo's a different kind of player. He's wiry. You know what I mean? He's like a featherweight boxer. He's still just as dangerous as a heavyweight boxer. He just needs to hit you a couple more times. But he's fast enough to do it. You know what I mean?
I still think there's more to come from him. I still don't think he's at his best yet.
Definitely not.
I agree.
But will it come from him under Brendan Rodgers? I mean,
I think Brendan somehow seems to have found some belief in him. I think because I think certainly there was a period there where all of us were worried about what happened to Kyogo and why isn't Brendan getting him on there, or the way in which he's been playing. But somehow I think more recently, I think Brendan maybe has some faith in him. So I'm hoping, because I think he could make a lot of difference to us.
I think there's a bit of yin and yang to the process, right? I think you could look at it and say, what kind of striker is Brendan looking for? Is he looking for a striker like Kyogo? And then you could say, with possession-based football and drawing teams out and pulling them out of position and then threading balls through, Kyogo's the ideal player that we're looking for. We've just not utilised him in the way we should, because when we're trying to play possessional-based passing football and draw teams out, teams are just playing a low block and not coming out. Like, there's no reason to chase the ball. We're just going to entrench with 18-yard box, and Celtic are going to need to play for us. So, like, it eliminates Kyogo largely.
well, I think I should mention that the comments are going crazy with sheep puns, and I have to throw at least one of them up, so we'll go for this one. Winning the game was sheer joy. Aberdeen played very wool.
Oh dear.
Wah, 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 wah. All right, on to this then. Michael, wee Jamesy Forrest,
Ah, yes.
second
This
half.
this is possibly, apart from the
60
winning,
60 minutes.
apart from winning the penalties, this was probably my favourite part of the match. I was delighted for James Forrest that he came on and did what we all know he can do. It was a typical Hampden Park goal from James Forrest. It was beautiful to watch. Great job.
Cuts inside, bends it. Do you think he could even see the target he was going for when he hit it? Or did he just know he's
Well,
bending
exactly.
and
I mean,
running?
you know the goal. When you're a forward player, you know the goal doesn't move. It's always in the same place. So he knows where it is. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when
Impressive.
you see that goal from the creation point, he's kind of slightly leaning forward with utter determination. That's actually what comes through, and he's finding that position because he knows where he needs to be to make that shot. So it was and I don't think he saw it. His head didn't come up to look at it. He just knew where it was, and it was brilliant.
No wonder Brendan Rodgers says James Forrest is still the best winger at the club. I mean, usually comes on and plays right wing, utilises what he's supposed to do, knock the ball past the guy, hits the byline and crosses the ball. There you see him on the left-hand side showing Palmer exactly what he should be doing. No, Palmer, this is what you do. When you cut inside, you see the edge of the edge of the area, you know you're central, and you stroke it into the bottom corner. Absolutely beautiful. Marvellous strike for Forrest. Marvellous play as well, leading into it, the way he picked up the ball and drifted inside. He led them like lambs to the slaughter. There you go, there's one for the team.
Okay. Jeez. All right, let's move it on. Mahesh talking how Scales had a shocker defending the far post with two of Aberdeen's goals. Aberdeen definitely went after Taylor and Scales. I mean, that was so obvious. You got to say that's exactly what they did.
Those
This
two
was
goals
their-
were proper schoolboy errors, both of them.
Like I says, they had a plan A and they utilising Miovski running off the back of CCV. This was their plan B. Cross the ball to the back post. Here we see Anthony Scales utterly dawdling under the ball, caught under the ball twice. And their finish was, I said it in the comments, Gav, during the watch-along, great finishes at the back post, excellent headers, both of them. You see there, Taylor, the defenders ahead of him. He's absolutely no assistance whatsoever at the back post to Anthony Scales. But at the same time, Scales is caught under the ball, also at fault. And at the same time, Joe Hart, 7 foot tall with a 4 foot jump, you know what I mean? And then he extends his arm. He's like 14 foot tall, you know what I mean? When he's jumping, come out and catch that ball. Just come out and just like, how many times have we seen a keeper just come out and just claim that ball and take all the nervousness out of a defensive performance or something that looks shaky? It's just not something that Joe Hart does.
No, and my hope is that our next goalkeeper will play in such a way that we will suddenly realize what we were missing.
Mhm.
You know, someone who does dominate like that. Because, I mean, I know it's a big Joe Hart love-in, and we're going to be part of it as well today.
Mhm.
But, you know, there are clear limitations to his style of goalkeeping. You have to
Well,
say.
how much slack are we going to give him? You know what I mean, Gav? You know, he didn't come for that cross and he missed a penalty. He hit the bar, as Daniel would say, when we all know it's the post.
Hit the bar, the vertical bar. God damn it. Okay, so then into the second half, into extra time. Then that's what took it to 90 minutes. Is that right? Yes. This is
Yep.
O'Reilly scoring 15 minutes into extra time. After some lovely work down the right by Forrest to Johnson, and then everyone gets sucked towards the ball. O'Reilly hangs back, and it just pops out to him through a field of players, and he just finishes beautifully. David, at this point, were you thinking happy days?
I absolutely was. And although our record of losing goals and very late in the game, we needed to talk about, because our game strategy stuff and management needs to be considered. What have we learned? Let's come back to that. I thought O'Reilly, both his penalty and this, he's very composed. The maturity of him, composure to take it under at this time, with what the atmosphere must have been like, was fantastic. I wasn't convinced about his full impact on the game. Other than these kind of points, I felt we haven't seen the best of him more recently, and I'm not quite sure why that's the case. I didn't feel he contributed hugely other than this goal. So nothing taken away. Maybe that's, but you're just used to him having, sort of owning a game a lot more, and the trickery and the beautiful play, and you're just not seeing it. But for this, absolutely composed, brilliant. And I did think at this point that it was a Rogic moment, against Aberdeen. That kind of moment where it's like the last gasp and we've done it. So yeah, how much am I?
A little nod to this tee up and then strike home. Sheep like a dip.
It's good. It's all good.
Okay, and then the next incident was quite an interesting one. Adamida. What did anyone make of this? Does anyone want to make the case that this should have been looked at more closely for penalty?
No, I think either wins the ball through and it's like that prime opportunity to shoot, and just as he was going, the Aberdeen defender slid in. Beautiful piece of defending, right? Takes the ball first, makes contact with the ball, and he follows through and does hit Ida. And you could have, if you were for the wrong side of the city, have screamed for a penalty there. You'd have probably been awarded it, but we don't get them because that was a legitimate tackle and that was not a penalty.
It was a great tackle, actually, to be fair.
It was a good tackle.
Well, this is it again from another angle. That's just him getting his foot in, getting his foot on the ball at the critical moment. So well done there. Then Ida is offside for this one, Michael. Do you recall this moment?
I do recall that moment. I didn't see it at first because I was working behind the bar and just everyone went bananas and I thought we'd put the game to bed, but it's clearly offside. So there's no question about that.
I didn't see this at all. I didn't know this had happened until today when I was going through and getting stills. I was like, what? Nobody told me that.
I like Ida's complaints. He was like, I was not offside. Look at that.
Yeah,
he's looking across the line. He's actually looking at the ball across the line. Look at the straight lines on the Hampden pitch as well. You know what I mean? The VAR team not required there.
No.
Well, the VAR team was required for this moment. This was
Mhm.
the shocking foul on Johnson that we all saw immediately. Not.
Watched this unfold, right, and noticed that the player had barged into AJ. I can't remember the
Mhm.
player's name, sorry. Eludes me. Toilet, that's it. Toilet or Hoilet. He had barged into AJ, knocked him down, and then he got up and tried to pursue the ball. Instantly when I seen it, it looks like he's favourite to win the ball while heading away from goal. CCV makes contact with him. We've had them awarded. We've seen them awarded. You know what I mean? It looks like CCV made contact with the player's leg. I instantly thought that's definitely a penalty. And when the VAR came in and looked at it, and I noticed that there was a infringement just before, I was like, sheesh, breath of fresh air. But you seen CCV, he knew he was not complaining. If he thought the ref was pointing to the spot, he was just not complaining about that whatsoever.
Yeah, David, did you think that's definitely a penalty?
I think this might have been the one moment where, you know, again on that bus it kind of I lost internet. So
Did anybody else see this? Because I didn't see this either.
I saw it coming. I mean, CCV, he sees the ball coming and he goes for it. He doesn't even see the Aberdeen player. He just clips him from behind. He hasn't even seen him, and he knows rightly he's completely took him out. But luckily, the foul was beforehand. So,
I mean, it was luckily. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to show from earlier. Actually, well, because this is one penalty shout, so you know what the other one's going to be.
I looked at that, see that still image of the Matt O'Reilly goal, and I was like, there is 9 Aberdeen players and the goalkeeper. That's 10 players in their box defending that situation, and there's like 4 Celtic players there. I'm like, where is the rest of the team? You know what I mean? When you're at worried about getting hit in the break that no one went into the box, you know what I mean?
This was the other moment, the heart and mouth moment, Celtic Nation tweet. Still a few saying that this wasn't inside the box. Can I make that full screen? Yeah. And here you can see the line.
It's clearly not inside the box.
But again, when I saw that, I thought, oh, jeez, that's definitely going to be a penalty. When I saw the CCV one, I thought, this is definitely going to be a penalty.
I think
So,
if he's in the box in any way, right? If any of his feet are inside the box, then he's inside the box. When his feet's outside the box and it's his standing leg, and his entire body can be hanging inside the box, but he's not technically inside the box. The same as if a keeper comes out to claim the ball and he keeps his feet inside the box and dies out, he can pick the ball up because his feet are inside the area. You know what I mean? It's like it's not something that's ever really you see happen very often. You know what I mean? But it happens.
Well, here's an argument I've seen elsewhere. People saying the CCV Hoylett incident is the same as the Lager Bielka incident at Ibrox. CCV goes to clear the ball, and at the last second, a foot gets in the way and stops him from kicking the ball. So
Well,
it wouldn't have been a penalty even without that previous
It's not really
incident.
the same because in the incident at Ibrox, Lager Bielka was in possession and dawdled on the ball, and he'd already made the motion to pass the ball back when big serial Dossers sticks his leg in front of him and obstructs his play. That's why that was a free kick. Now, what you seen there was CCV went to play the ball, and no one was in possession of it.
Making.
Yeah, it was a breaking ball. No one was in possession. Yeah. CCV had as much right to challenge for it as Toilet did, or Hoylett. And Michael was correct. CCV had committed to play the ball and didn't see the guy behind him who came running in and play stuff. So I did see it and I thought, that's going to be a penalty. The ref's going to award that. And I was counting my blessings for the infringement beforehand. But looking at the situation, then we could be arguing and saying, well, it really shouldn't have been a penalty. But right after that, there was another one anyway. I think CCV got up for that one and mangled the next guy. You know what I mean? It's just mango. CCV
mango
did
juice.
not have one of his best performances.
Well, I'll tell you who else didn't have one of their best performances. That was Adamida. Jump in, David, if you saw this. Because this was a nice little passage of play down the side there. And Palma slid O'Reilly in beautifully, has to be said. And then O'Reilly squared it to Ida, and you just thought, this has to be a goal. Did you see this, David?
I didn't. No.
Okay, let's go to Michael then.
Yeah, I mean that it's one of those ones that's it's easier to score than miss it. You know what I mean? It's just right. And I don't know how he missed it. I really
This
don't.
would have put us 4-2 up.
Yeah, it was game
Yeah.
over. Absolutely.
This
4-2
would have
up.
been game over. He would have been a hero. All his Celtic supporting family would have been.
Yeah, and then
You know,
everyone would be
on the
saying he
front
should be
bench.
starting. He should be starting. He should be starting. But maybe that's why he's not starting because he missed that.
Oh, it was excruciating.
Yeah.
Seeing the spaces in there and like you show that still image to any striker in the world, and you're like, if this man scores this, he's cool, he's calm, he's got the presence of mind you're looking for up front. Now today, if you said the striker actually missed this, you'd be like, how did he miss it? Did he blaze it over the bar, past the post? Did the keeper make a good stop? Was it a weak effort, a weak shot? One of the reasons that I like Adam Ida is his physical ability, but he wasn't playing a lot for his parent club as well. You know what I mean? Coming to Celtic, he usually saw more game time. I like the improvement in him. Is he really worth £6 million? I don't really know. Missing chances like that, I would border on no.
Yeah, so it went to penalties. Before we talk about the penalties, a quick word of praise to the people in charge of Hampden for this wonderful moment. Did you see that?
No.
Is it
Scottish
because he's
Cup.
using Scottish Gallagher there? Are they not? Is that what they're using?
That's what I
Apparently
said. I misspell things.
Apparently the screen wasn't working the whole first half. So people couldn't see replays or anything. It's total
Gallagher,
disaster.
more consonants than vowels.
The guy who was known, the guy who was putting the messages up didn't know how to spell screen, so he couldn't access the program to put it on.
All right, so then I didn't take stills of all the penalties because, well, it's just
Too many
people
of them.
taking penalties. But, I mean, you got to be surprised at how good our penalties were generally, David.
So I thought that was it. Game over for us. Lots of tweets. I caught up with the next day saying the same thing just about that time. We're not going to win this if it's on penalties because we're kind of rotten at it. And, we have had lots of discussions about who should be taking penalties. Palmer looked for a bit and then he just lost the plot with those. And then we had to try and find someone. So it was nerve-wracking. And then obviously the choice of Hart, but we can come on to that. I genuinely didn't think we were going to walk away winning that on penalties. No way.
Yes, I see people saying that it's like a spot the ball competition because we're using the still images. I think it's just Gav Disney, the channel, getting in trouble with using the live footage. I know there is a fair usage policy and we are reacting to the footage. So in my opinion, like you can use it, but my opinion isn't what matters. It's YouTube's opinion. It's them who say what we can and can't use. So just trying to stay on the right side of YouTube's policy.
Yeah, and most people who talk about the games, they just talk about them. You know, I think it's nice to have at least some images to remind you of what was going on. So about the penalties then, well, obviously the big news was the lineup, and the people that practice them, the people that take them. Dano on the watch-along was freaking out and kind of saying, the fuck is Hart doing this? They're going for the big Hollywood moment and stuff, and Brendan Rodgers, what are you doing? You know, and I've seen other people saying that it reflects badly on the other outfield players, Michael. It was a bit of a wild card to have that lineup of penalty takers.
It was a bit of a wild card, but over the course of the season, the outfield players haven't really been putting the penalties away. So it was kind of like, we've already used 4 of them, 4 of the worst ones. Is there anyone any better? And it seemed that Brendan and Joe Hart thought it was going to be him.
And do you think Awata is nailed on as our future penalty taker now after his lovely one?
I thought that was a very cool penalty. I would definitely get him to take from now on. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, any more thoughts on the game itself then before we turn our attention to some other matters?
Well,
I think if we keep playing like that, for the rest of the season, we might not win the league.
Correct.
Well,
Yes.
that's what we're going to turn our
It's a good
attention
wake
to.
up. It's a good
in a
wake up
moment.
call. It's probably better it finished 3-3 in penalties because it's going to give us a good wake up call coming into the rest of the season.
Well, first of all, let's have a look at the goings on in Rome. You had an entertaining time in Finnegan's watching the match, Michael.
We had a very entertaining time. So I was working behind the bar, and about 20 minutes before kickoff, I just turned around and I looked, and I thought I'd seen a ghost coming up to the bar. Just looked at this guy, and I'm like, "That's Dermot Desmond.
recognize
That
him.
looks like Dermot Desmond." And I stared at him, and he stared back at me. And I stared at him again as if to say, "You look like Dermot Desmond." And he looked back at me as if to say, "I am Dermot Desmond." I couldn't fucking believe it. He just walked into the pub to come and watch the football. There he is.
Very good. And did you get any crack out of him?
Not really. We got photographs with him. People took photographs before the match, and people took photographs with him at halftime. But he was sitting up by the bar. He was drinking alcohol-free beer. He was with some lady and some younger guy was with him.
Just one of the fans.
Well, exactly. I mean, I couldn't believe he turned up. I mean, that's just I took this video.
Nice bit of editing there, Michael.
Thank you very much. I've had plenty of time for it this week. Yeah, but I mean, his estimations have moved up a lot because obviously, you don't get to see people like that very often coming. I just was surprised that he decided to come and watch the match in a pub because I mean, he obviously has Celtic TV because he owns Celtic TV, so he didn't have to come in. But it's just it's just like the rest of us. It's like if you're a Celtic fan, you want to watch the match with other Celtic fans, and it seems to be that he's in the same boat. If you know what I mean.
Like most people with money, he didn't get there by spending it. He's got a fire stick, bro. Trust me. he's in your pub because you had the game on live. He's like, oh, free TV, we're in there. Alcohol-free beer, you know what I mean? Like maybe a couple of people buy me some of my alcohol-free beers, even though I'm a billionaire. And he stuck him in and been like, there's 10 grand behind the bar, everybody drinks for free. That's what you'd expect. You know, that's what I'd expect. I'd have been giving them a Rick tick. I'd have been like, look at that. You're fucking paying for that. Get us something better.
So did anyone shout at him like that he had to
Not at all. No, everyone was
his hand in his pocket or
no one said get your money out or any of that kind of stuff. They just took photographs with him and just let him he was just with a couple of friends, so
I'm surprised he wasn't charging you for the photographs, bro. In all honesty, they'd be like $5 each. $5 each.
So your bar must be like a proper magnet for interesting people.
Well, I mean that was surprised me a lot. I mean, he walked in and literally thought I'd seen a ghost. It's like Jesus Christ! He's just walked in. I couldn't believe it. But we do get a few famous people coming through. Well, the last one was the Rangers manager.
Yeah, that's right. It's 2 in 1 season, so we can expect that for.
Well, we had Paolo Nutini this season as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, did we show him? No, we did.
We showed him early doors whenever it was on the channel at the start. Yeah.
Very good. Handy enough having somebody who runs a famous boozer in Rome. Hey, David.
Brilliant. Well, so I don't know if any of you have seen the series Ripley, but I was thinking about Mickey.
Yes,
and
I sent it to Mickey.
Oh, that's a brilliant. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
I've never seen it. No, I didn't watch it yet.
Oh, it's brilliant. And the cinematography.
Oh, it's beautiful. And as a lover of all things Italian, you know, it's still set in the 1960s in Italy. And it just looks so gorgeous.
And the acting and just watch it. Everybody, watch Ripley. It's superb.
It's actually the story of the talented Mr. Ripley.
Talented, from the movie turned into a series.
From the book, yeah.
But so I love the film, but the series is.
I've never seen the film. The film's with Matt Damon, but this is different. This is
different class.
This is more like a novel, experiencing reading a book, isn't it? you know. Very good.
It's
What
wonderful.
else? While we're on the subject, has anybody seen that baby
Oh,
baby
baby reindeer.
baby reindeer?
I just started today because
Oh
I
my
needed one
god!
after Ripley because I just finished Ripley and I was depressed because it was over.
Oh well, this is not
Yeah.
going to help you, man. This
Is it
is
not?
absolute.
Oh God,
oh,
okay.
Baby
Right.
reindeer is unbelievable.
I
I-
need things for this flight to Hanoi. I keep going on for 3.5 or 4 hour flights, so I
Well,
need
make
stuff.
sure there's no kids watching in the seat behind you or something.
All
I
right.
heard
Okay.
that
Mommy,
baby
why is that
reindeer
happening on that man's
based on a
screen?
true story.
Baby Reindeer is based on a true story. Yeah, it's
Is
the
it?
main
Okay.
guy's life experience, and he's turned it into a TV series. And some of the things that go down in that TV series, you wouldn't believe.
But Rome
It's,
after Ripley, I need to get to Rome. So Mickey, I have to find a way to get there just for that.
You'll be the next famous person in the pub.
Hi.
David from A Celtic World is in.
That's right.
There's a chance for you
What's
to
the
do
bar?
some selling.
The bar is called Finnegan Irish Pub.
And where is it?
It's right in the centre of Rome. You get off the main train station. It's a 5-10 minute walk.
And maybe come
Yeah, I was
visit,
hoping you would
get a pizza, some ice
fill
cream,
in a bit more there.
and a pint. Get the couch ready, Michael. I'm on my way.
Okay, good stuff. Maestro 95 saying, me, myself, and Irene, pure culture. It is one of the great comedy movies, of course. I've got another little thing to play for you before we talk about what does that game mean for the rest of the season and what are we expecting for the rest of the season. Well, I'll just play it. It's kind of self-explanatory, I think. But to go on a Celtic world, what's the one thing you would do to piss off that baldy guy, Gav?
I'd say Rogic.
It's Tom Rogic! It's Tom Rogic! Rogic! Rogic!
So he would say Rogic, not Rogic.
I said Rogic earlier. I said Rogic.
You did. Good man. But it's amazing. Like he played with him for years and still calls him
Still said
Rogic.
Rogic.
Loads of people call him Rogic.
He probably just called him Tam, in all fairness,
Yeah,
every day
real
training,
life.
you know what I mean?
Think I'm going to get into trouble for making fun of our Capitano.
I've got a message from you coming in hot. Gav, get that video clip watermark before the vultures get it. That's from our very good.
Oh, that's the one you mean,
Ian?
the
No, the one with the
clip from
bar.
Rome.
Bar.
Yeah.
Do you need to get that done now? That was from Ian.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. I have to go and do that now.
Busy
Right
Gavin.
now,
Do you want to take this one, Michael?
I do know him, yeah. I haven't seen him in a while.
I went to the Scottish Cup final with him last year.
Oh, that's right. You
Me
did.
and my daughter. It was my daughter's 19th birthday. I actually won tickets from Shah. He met me in Glasgow. We went for a couple of pints on the city centre. Then we met up for the game at Hampden. And he was very happy about me igniting pyro and all the police turning up. He filmed he documented it in depth. He documented it in depth.
For sure.
He's a podcaster and a YouTuber, bro. He does On the Volley. If you've never heard that, On the Volley. So that's his channel. Anyone on YouTube, it's called On the Volley. He's a Celtic fan who lives in Rome and brings content on Glasgow Celtic and stuff from
Perfect.
Rome.
Right. Brilliant. No, I didn't. So great. Yeah, I'll have a look.
Here's a point from John Clements. Bruni and Maeda grew their hair just to annoy Gav. That's a good point. You know, it is quite annoying when you see these people who are representing the bald and then suddenly they just become hairy-headed people again.
Yeah.
In a different circumstance. I mean, that's cultural appropriation of the worst type. Coming into my world as a tourist.
Yeah, when we win the league, I'll be getting the Brenda bow. for a haircut, so I might be joining
Yeah.
the Baldies soon
And
after that.
And it doesn't run in the family either. I met your brother.
That's true. He's got hair. He's very proud of it. All right, so that was the game. We saw what happened. What did we learn from that, and what does it mean going forward in the league? Is it just a totally different competition, Michael, and we don't have to worry about it? Or does it reveal that there's maybe more than a few concerns to be had?
Yeah, well, as I was saying just beforehand, I think it's probably the best thing that could have happened to us, having that 3-3 draw. Because the Huns have played twice and dropped points twice since we played our last game. And I was kind of thinking it's going to be plain sailing from here. If it was like cloud9, it's going to be easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But I think even the fact that Aberdeen aren't even a top 6 team, so we've got to play 5 of the top 6, and we're going to have to play way better than that. I think that's going to be a good wake-up call for us.
Kaiser?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Thoughts of
think
the game?
coming at this time in the season, is the downfall of your enemy really your success? So watching Sevco imploding and the Hun implosion and meltdown that came after that, of course, has been delightful. Leading into that cup game, the 3-3 result definitely shows how a team with tactical awareness and a bit of ability can pull us apart. So not only for the remainder of the season, but generally in future, Celtic really need to be taking long, hard looks at that. You know what I mean? Liam Scales, if he remains in the squad, needs to be dropping back and just realising that Greg Taylor's not going to cover the back post. He's going to need to do that, or Joe Hart needs to come out and claim the ball. There's a lot of food for thought, a lot to digest, a lot to unravel in the performance. There was also a lot of good in the performance as well. And Aberdeen were excellent. I think that's they really conditioned themselves for the game, treated it as a one-off game and came with a one-off strategy. That's why we're not seeing them in top 6, but they played with that quality. It is a semi-final in the cup at the end of the day. So they came out and gave it their all, and fair dues to them, all respect to them. And they played really well. You know what I mean?
David, do you have any other thoughts about players, personnel? Like, what did we learn from that game? Do you think Scales is possibly going to be pushed aside, or he seems to be Brendan's boy? But the fans are up in arms after that performance. They seem to come down on Yang, Scales, Taylor. They were the ones who got the most stick.
So Scales has been, caused celebrity for long enough through the season about just how well he's developed and come into his game. And then now, more recently, we've seen him wanting quite a bit. The issue here, I think, goes to management again. I think Paul's going to hate me because I'm going to say it. Didn't strengthen well enough during the January transfer window. Hadn't dealt with the very obvious flaws in the team from goalkeeper forward. We've got away with it, maybe because I don't think we should celebrate anything yet. Our flaws. Ian has consistently said on this show, teams are not scared of us, and Aberdeen just showed everyone how easy it is to possibly beat us in a semi-final in a big, and it's the attitude that they showed. Look at their game plan, look at their game management, look at their plan A, their plan B, look at their determination, their no die. Usually it was always us who would be able to say, we're winning mentality, we would never die, we'd always go to the end result. Teams are doing that against us. They are not scared of us. Our flaws are obvious to the point where they can plan games around them and have been for such a long time. So my opinion on Taylor, Scales, Navratsky, and otherwise really is irrelevant because these teams are going to take advantage. Scales, Navratsky debate, honestly, I don't know if you put in Navratsky, you'd have got a better result. I don't think he was particularly good when he came on. I think he's a wobble. I don't think there's an option there. I think we're going to have to stick with what we've got. If the manager believes in Scales, right, you see it through then, and you make sure and have a right good look at what's happening, because we can be taken apart as long as teams decide to organize themselves Mahelski's kind of a goal split us apart. So go back to Kaiser's point earlier. That was a beautiful goal. End of. When we got totally torn apart. And that can happen again and again. So there's a possibility that we don't take points from these last games. It's possible. Now, we've got to believe in ourselves to some point. There's a confidence. I think we'll get some assurance out of what came out of there, that we can have something of the champion mentality, and we have got a deeper squad. And I think possibly the other side of the city, he's overtrained them. He's wrung them dry of their possibility, possibly. But they won comfortably. Hearts usually don't beat them. Never have at Hampden. These stats are stacking up in the way that we see them to be, and the stats aren't on our side. Sorry.
I think it must be very hard being a Celtic player, knowing that every team that comes to play against you, regardless of their league position or what's happening, they're going to give it their all. They're going to raise their game. They're going to play their absolute best against you. And there is an old saying that goes like, hard work beats talent unless talent works hard. So that must be the epitome of what it is to be a Celtic player. Not only are you talented, but you must work hard. You must bring that work ethic. We always say Maeda is the benchmark in that work ethic and engine. But maybe him being injured and being out showed some results in other places there in that game. But I thought there's a lot to digest about the game. There's a lot to unravel, especially for the defensive coaches. John Kennedy, I believe he's a defensive coach. Yeah. Been there for the longest, worked under Ange, worked under Brendan.
Who do you think showed the best attitude from all of our players coming on, came on and changed the game? And it was attitude and determination. And he's got the oldest. There you go.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
And it was determined. Obviously, there's skill there, but it was his attitude, determination that turned the game for us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm an adamant defender of Liam Scales. I always stick up for him. I still say, even this day, that player of the season should be Liam Scales. He's the most improved. He's come into the squad from nowhere and absolutely done as a credit all year long. Other people would say it should be Joe Hart. He is retiring. He has played well for 7 or 8 games when we really needed him. So, for me, I would still lean on it being Scales. For as much as I'll criticise him for poor performance, you need to criticise a player for poor performance. That's what we're here for. We're here to debate and talk about it. Some people will see one thing in a game, somebody else will see something else. That's how we always love to get the comments involved, because people in the comments, like Mahesh and Plunge and 420, they always bring good points and good comments, things that we don't always think about. So you are just like another contributor on the show. That's why these are always welcome to come on.
And James Floyd is very welcome by saying he's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater yet. It was a cup game.
Mm-hmm.
James, neither am I. I'm just facing what's in front of me. I'm just facing what's in front of me, James.
We had to get through the semi-final, and we did. Now we're in the final. Now it's back to business in the league. The hope is that we can just, tighten up where we need to tighten up and keep doing what we've been doing in the league. I read an interesting stat about Hearts and Rangers there. No club has beaten Hearts more than once this season, except for Rangers, who've beaten them 5 times.
Jesus.
Isn't that mad?
That is
5 games, huh?
That's crazy. Game of 2 halves again. Paddy Lavery wants to be told that his comments are welcome and contribute to the show.
I think that was a special mention that we had organised. For the end of the show. You're getting ahead of yourself, Paddy. We had something special arranged for you that now you've
ruined it.
Paddy, you've ruined it.
Game of 2 halves again, says Jerry. Yeah, well, onwards and upwards. Back to the league. And, but it does, I think what it does do is it takes us all down a peg or two in terms of how confident we were feeling. Is that fair to say?
It brings a dose of reality for all the people who were already celebrating and jumping around and had haircuts booked in. That's the reason why Kaiser hasn't got the Brenda bill already need to wait until the end of the season. You know what I mean? Can't come ringing in with that haircut and then we lose the league. That's just a meme. Can't become the meme. So it's a little dose of reality for how we played in a one-off cup game, right? In the semi-final, the most important thing was we got through it, and we did. But still, you can digest some of the things that happened in the game and try and improve and ensure they don't happen in the next game.
All right. Well, on that note, we will just round up with a couple of little Celtic socials that I've got because nobody's given me any themselves. So
I did. I sent one in.
Seeking
Did
ye
you?
shall receive.
It's in the
Where did you
WhatsApp group.
send it
To the WhatsApp group, but yeah, if you can't get it.
To the WhatsApp group. I don't have any notifications on WhatsApp.
You've got WhatsApp
anyway.
web on. All right.
This is a nice thing I saw. This is Ronnie Wraith, who plays for Ware FC under-13s. He returned to the pitch during yesterday's win against Saffron Walden. He was hit by lightning last year and had a cardiac arrest, which stopped his heart for 30 minutes. And this is his comeback appearance. Imagine that, poor wee fella. Under-13s.
Good chow. Lightning McQueen. Get in there, wee man. Coming. How did he get hit with lightning? I wish we had
Happens
more
a lot.
elaboration on the
Believe it or
story.
not.
You know what I mean?
This is a place that happens a
Like, he was
lot.
just innocently running down the street with a huge scaffolding pole. What happened there?
No,
You know what I mean?
as David is saying, and I've got a friend who works in football here, and he was at a match where the goalkeeper got struck by lightning in West
Dangerous.
Malaysia.
Mhm.
Very dangerous here. So you kind of like, as soon as the kids are out the front, we hear the thunder stuff, out the pool, in straight away, because it's a genuine concern.
genuinely
You're going to get
happens.
hit continually.
Mhm.
Continually.
So do you recognise who this is? Another Baldy to bring it back to
You,
Baldies.
Brenner.
Yeah.
It's
And
eyes in
here's
my
a
ear,
famous
Dad.
Angie's quote here, or Angie's tweet, morning troops. Did you know the actor Yul Brynner was a lifelong Liverpool fan? And he never wore aftershave in his life? That's right. Yul never wore cologne.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Oh, Gavin.
Etc. Etc. Etc.
What a terrible reaction to a hilarious dad joke. Very
I thought it was
disappointing.
quite nice.
Was Hugh Brenner a kind of like, did he have a condition that made him bald? Because you remember Duncan Goodhue? He fell off
He
a
fell
swing
from
or
a
a
tree or something.
tree
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
He fell off
I
a
don't know if
tree
you
and made him bald.
Duncan Goodhue when he was a child, yeah.
Sheesh. Trauma.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
what happened to Gav.
Aye.
Trauma.
Okay. Well, as the conversation turns to Gav abuse, I think it's time to wrap it up and say thank you
Seen
so much
everybody
to
clicking
everyone
on
in the
your stuff as
comments.
well earlier on, Gav.
Thank you for all the chit chat. It's been a good one. It's good to see David back. Good to see Michael back.
Yeah, it's delighted. Thanks. I've missed it all.
And Thursday's show, we're going to see hopefully the return of some others. Jerry and Robert, I think, are both in for Thursday. So we're coming back to full strength after having a long injury list just at the right time of the season. This is the time of the season where a Celtic world comes alive. Don't you think, lads?
Definitely.
Absolutely. They've taken my passport. Well, actually, I've applied for a new passport, so I can't travel. I have to be there.
Right, there you go.
Brilliant. Okay, until next time, everyone. See you in a
Hail,
bit.
hail.
He'll help.